We've been told for years that taking action is the key to growth. But lately, I've been wondering if action was ever the real problem. Because you see, starting things is easy, but staying with them, that's where we lose ourselves. This is your weekly reset. Let's dive in. In life, we've all heard take action. Slow motion is better than no motion. And while I agree with those sentiments, I feel like a big part of taking action is literally left out, and that's the attention piece. You see, taking action feels good. It feels like you're doing something, and it gives you an illusion of progress. So if I start my workout regimen today's not the issue because at least I showed up and started the workout regimen. The issue usually comes about, can I withstand the process of working out consistently? The reason why I bring attention into this equation is because the other day I was struggling to actually come up with this week's reset, and I was sitting down trying to write the script and the flow. And I remember hearing the microwave pop off in that very moment. The funny thing is, I had just gotten into a zone where I felt like the words were coming together. So it felt like it was an interruption that was unnecessary. But that's life. Like, you're not always going to have things in order, and things are not always going to align the way you want them to align, right? I believe that's real life. We are kind of programmed to work like algorithms, but we're human beings because we get distracted. We have multiple interests, and this sometimes can fragment our attention span. So I remember getting up and going to get my food. And when I came back to sit down, it hit me like, damn, that flow state was disrupted. And I didn't even realize in the moment until I came back to sit down. It was so easy for me to sit down and start the process of writing the article on my laptop. But that mini distraction almost took me away if I didn't realize it, because I was going to get distracted and not finish the article. It really got me thinking. The easy part is starting because they've just ingrained that in our minds. But the hard part is staying consistent and staying with that attention to actually get into a flow state. And once you get into a flow state, you can be able to get into a zone that allows you to go deep, because our brains need time to settle. Our brains need time to operate at a level that can decode the things that we're trying to do at a very deep level. So it becomes a game of focus versus clutter, because once you have focus and you have depth, automatically you just feel more productive and you actually do the thing that you're supposed to do. So that got me to think about how attention has become the new currency. Think about how every day when you get distracted with your phone, the biggest thing that these tech companies are taking away from us is attention. I know for a fact that when I grab my phone, the first thing I do is go to Instagram or social media. And it's so mindless. I don't think about it. I just open my phone and I go to a specific place without realizing that I'm actually fragmenting my attention. So attention has become the new currency, and these people know that. The big tech know that. So imagine when you're trying to focus on one thing and then you have distractions that keep fragmenting your focus, and essentially you can't be able to do that thing. It becomes harder and harder with every single distraction that is being invented in time and more. People in the past never had this much distraction. Maybe that's why they were happier. If I think about people who lived in the forest and the jungle, all they could do was focus on one thing. If it was time to go hunting, they would go hunting. And if they got distracted, it was in nature. We have so many stimulants in our immediate environment, and we wonder why our relationship with ourselves is not at the best. I truly believe this is a bigger problem with the lack of deep focus and attention to what we do. So action without depth is essentially motion without meaning. And what humans thrive is meaning. No wonder the threshold for people with meaning and people who feel fulfilled is going down as tech evolves and as distractions become immense. It's not a coincidence, in my opinion. So when I think about reframing this mindset is let's use action as a door opener, as something that allows us to get into the zone of pre-flow state, right? Think about it when you walk into a room and there's people who are skilled at a particular field and you're not skilled. Action will get you to the door and get you into that room. But the only way that you'll prove yourself to the people who have the skill set that you might also possess is if you command their attention. Action is the door opener, and attention is what builds in the room. So when you walk into these rooms, you have to be able to command attention by how you speak or the knowledge that you have acquired over time and are able to share with your peers. That's what gives you that attention. And recently, I realized that the flow state in itself does require protection because it's very hard to get into that flow state based on the number of distractions that we have, as I said. So when I think about flow state, I think about when you get into a zone that you're super locked in and time doesn't really exist, right? Because when I think about it, how often is our attention just constantly divided and it makes us lose productivity, you know? In essence, this fragments us to even lose clarity, and our decisions tend to become reactive, our thoughts remain shallow, and we tend to consume more opinions than experiences. So the reason why I feel like the flow state is so important to protect is because every day when we wake up, the first thing we do, especially if you go on your phone, is we're consuming opinions of other people rather than our own human experiences. There's a generation that's growing up with this type of experience. I learned a trick that helped me learn how to protect my flow state, right? When I was going through this difficult moment of coming up with this article, I decided to sit down and block away 20 minutes non-distractive. And the reason is not the number on the clock, or the number on the clock doesn't really matter. What matters is the 20 minutes have to be uninterrupted. And what that does is it takes you from the start of the action, which is to sit down and actually type. And once your mind settles and is able to process that you're trying to write an article, 10 minutes in, you realize the words are starting to come to you. And this wouldn't have been possible if you don't quiet the brain and if you don't create an environment for your brain to thrive. So if you think about it, how you continue that process is once 15 to 16 minutes hits, you won't even realize 20 minutes pass by because you're so embedded into the activity that you're doing that it no longer becomes an issue about starting and getting through the huddle or the creative funk. You're in flow and you're just good to go. So I believe it's so important to protect the flow state because it's what gets you to finish what you started. And if I was to take a parting shot with how we approach New Year's resolutions, there's a reason why a lot of us start resolutions in January, but they never hold up to the end of the year. It's because as the year progresses, things come up and they take our attention away from the things that we put our energy to at the beginning of the year in January. So as time evolves, as responsibilities evolve, we find ourselves drifting away from the things that we started in January if we don't pay close attention to the sad things. So action in itself will start the process, but attention is what will sustain the process and give you clarity and longevity to actually complete the project. So as we start this new month, let's audit our lives and see where are we with the beginning of January and the energy that we had for the things that we wanted to do. Am I just starting a lot of projects and not finishing them? Or am I actually giving the projects the attention that they require and deserve so that I can be able to see things to completion and fruition, not just at the beginning? Because the beginning is good. Everybody starts a marathon at the same time, but not everybody finishes a marathon at the same time. So Let's play our own race. Let's ask ourselves, where in our life are we taking action but withholding attention? And what might change if you protected your focus carefully as your time? This was your weekly reset. I hope we all read, reflect, and rise. Don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, and share button on YouTube and follow the podcast on Spotify. See you guys next week.